Hi, and welcome back to our podcast here on bigcountryhomepage.com, Abilene People, where we always talk to Abilene's most interesting people. And today we have these two lovely ladies, one dressed very appropriately for the holiday season.
Yes.
We're recording this in August. Why in the world are you wearing
Stop it, Danny.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Dana Ward
Yes.
from CASA.
Yes.
And we have Candace Setzer from CASA.
Correct.
So CASA is Court-Appointed Special Advocates.
Yes.
And your executive director, Leanne Millender, was here a few podcasts ago.
Yes.
But a lot of people might not have seen that who are watching this one. What's CASA? So, Dana, you tell us.
All right. CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. Basically, we are just another set of eyes on children who are experiencing foster care. It's a role that we take on, and we kind of assist in the judicial process. We assist in making sure that resources are found and given to the kiddos in care. We assist in creating a network of support for kiddos that need it.
So, Candace, it's advocate for a child who might not have anybody to go to court when they've been maybe removed from a home or a family separation or something?
Yes, that is correct. So a volunteer advocate is going to walk through that entire judicial system with the child. They are the one constant person that follows that child or children throughout that whole entire case and up until dismissal.
And so a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate, is a volunteer that goes to court and helps.
Yes.
Yes, and they do a lot more than that. But yes, that is the main function, the main job
you need
role.
More than just go to court.
Correct. Yes. It's just a lot of fun. It really is getting to learn these kids and their families. But there's a lot of our volunteers, they go to the kids' basketball games. They may show up at their birthday parties on the weekends. They are very hands-on. They're as hands-on as much as their schedule allows.
So, okay, sorry to interrupt. I just want to. How is that different then from an organization like Big Brothers Big Sisters? Because it sounds a lot like that, but it's more. Because I think if you're a big brother or a big sister, you don't go to court.
Yes. So I do think that the relationship that you gain with a child in our organization and in Big Brothers Big Sisters is similar. I think you're a mentor. You're someone who kind of comes alongside them and helps them process some things that are happening in their life. But the added part of the judicial system, of the kind of being that voice in the courtroom for that kid. Also talking to their doctors and their teachers and therapists even, and getting as much information as possible so that you can make recommendations that will improve that child's life.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, the outline you just laid out sounds pretty in depth. Like, you know, when somebody volunteers, they're gonna go into if it's one child or multiple kids, into the child's life and become a really important person for that child. Is that accurate?
I would say that's absolutely accurate. And the best part about being a volunteer advocate is that you're not only helping advocate for those children, you're also helping to advocate for the family in general. There's a lot of times that based on the demographic of where your family is coming from or what all that has transpired in their lives, it could be, you know, generational trauma that's been passed down. It could be parents that just need a little extra help. It could be parents that are looking for more help from the community to get back on track to get these kids back home.
I want to go back there in a second, but if I'm trying to put myself in the position of somebody watching this or listening to this on one of the podcast apps or something, and I'm thinking at this time, okay, well, wait now, is this a volunteer thing? Like I would volunteer? How in the world would I be knowing what to do? So a volunteer probably has to go through some kind of process, background check or something,
Yes.
and then they get training. So quickly describe that for us.
Sure. So our requirements are you have to be 21 or older. I just looked this morning to make sure that my number was correct. Our oldest advocate is mid-80s. So it's not something.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's not something that you can say, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have the skill set. It is definitely something anyone can do as long as they are willing to put in the effort and the time.
So they get training.
Yeah, so they get training, about 32 hours of training before they're sworn in as an advocate. That's done with our trainer, Jen Lemke, and it kind of prepares you pretty well on paper before you get assigned a case. But then a lot of our job is on the job training. It's going to be asking your supervisor when you don't understand something.
So I'm just curious, is that 80 plus year old volunteer, a CASA volunteer, have they been doing it for a while, or did they show up in their later years and say, I want to volunteer?
They actually started volunteering at 81.
Wow.
So, yeah. So 2020 was when they started volunteering. So you
had an 81-year-old during COVID show up and say, I want to start volunteering in the system.
Yes.
Okay. TC, put the camera on me. Okay, all you people out there, if an 81-year-old during COVID can do it, any of us can do it. That's incredible. That's great.
Yes, we are fortunate to have some of the best volunteers in, I think, the state. So.
Okay, so I want to go back to that little scenario you were talking about. So you mentioned multi-generational trauma and all. So I want to break it down and get really specific. So and there's an imaginary family named Smith, and they have 3 kids, and one of the kids exhibits presents some kind of issue, maybe at school or something, and then CPS would get involved, I guess, and then say, hey, this kid needs to be taken away from the family. Maybe all the kids do, and the Smiths are in some trauma, and then they get caught up in the court system. That's where you guys come in, right? That's what a volunteer is then prepared to do. And what does specifically the volunteer do, for example? I mean, I heard you say, well, they're going to get to know the kids. They're going to go to the kids' basketball or soccer game and all. But relative to the court process, what does the volunteer do?
I think Candace would be a great person to ask that, because she's not only works at CASA as an advocate supervisor, she's also an advocate herself.
Yes. So the court will appoint CASA to the case. That's when we get the notice that we have been appointed by the judge. The judge prefers to have a CASA on every case, but there's just not enough of us yet to where we can reach that. Once we get appointed to the case, there's a hearing. There's also the judicial timeline. So you're looking at a timeline of when we start the case to when it needs to be dismissed. So when the CASA is assigned to the case, we show up for the first court hearing. Before that, though, we need to meet the children. We need to meet the parents. We need to meet with placement. We need to see where these children are going. And once we show up to that first court hearing, we meet the parents' attorneys. We meet, and there could be several parents. There could be several attorneys for the children. And then you have the CASA volunteer that is advocating for the best interest of those children. Then you get to meet who is within the department, who's representing the department, CPS. And it's more like an introduction to what we're looking at for the caseload of that case. And once we're thrown in there and we're meeting everybody, that's how we learn what the kid's like. That's how we learn, does mom need help with this? Does dad need help with that? Are there services that are required that the parents have to do that they may need some help even just getting a ride to? There's a lot more that CASA does within the courtroom and outside the courtroom as well.
You mentioned earlier, you said it's really a lot of fun.
I love it. Yes.
Well, tell me the fun part, because I'm about to ask you the heartbreaking part.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say for me personally, this may not be for all volunteers, but getting to see how resilient these children are, to see the good side of the parents and even the bad side of the parents and what could come of those things. There's also a good side and a bad side of these kiddos. I mean, they're just kids. And so you get to really step in as almost like a non-biased party and say, look, I am here for your best interest. What's going on at school?
So the heartbreaking part, like if you say, okay, I'm here for your best interest, and you break that down at whatever age-appropriate conversation you're having with a kid, and they tell you a really sad story, or how do you deal with that? And, when you said a volunteer has to be 21, I was thinking, because you're going to hear so many things that drive you to drink,
Yeah.
But that's obviously a stupid joke. It's
right.
I think a lot of this probably drives you to, quiet reflection and thinking, man, because look, let's just get at it this way. There's a lot in our society today that seems to just be off kilter, more than a half bubble off level. It's just really broken. You guys are in the middle of that. You're front line.
Yeah.
Right. I do like to say that I feel like CASA can be a light in that dark time for this family, for all parties. And honestly, we advocate for the children, but that also entails being able to advocate for those children for what's best with their parents, with their home, with them going back home. And there's so many different aspects of a case. It's not all black and white. Not every case is the same. Some have some really amazing outcomes with reunification, which is our ultimate goal, is reunification with the family. But there's also a really beautiful side to fictive kinship adoption, and children being able to be placed with fictive kin is just amazing. And then there's some that are not so fortunate to have that, and they either can age out of care or they can be adopted as well.
Age out of care, meaning that they get old enough to where then, boom, they're on their own.
Correct.
That's going to be a lot of challenge right there, I'm assuming, too.
It is. I do have one that just aged out. Her birthday was on the 28th. And so it's been an adjustment for her, because even though we knew it was coming up, and we've done all that we can, at some point that they're old enough to kind of make their own decisions, just like anybody else's kid. So yeah, it's fun to me to get to watch them grow and navigate through these trying times, and to just be their friend and be their advocate and be there in those uncertain times.
What organizations do you guys work with at CASA? There's a bunch.
Yes. So any resource in Abilene, lots of nonprofits we will work with. Our main hope is that we are not the linchpin that keeps this kid afloat. We want to make sure that we're helping flood this family with resources, flood them with people that can help, so that when CASA is removed from the case, which we're all hoping for, we're hoping for reunification, we're hoping for permanency is what we call it. And so if that's what we're hoping for, then we want to be able to be removed at some point and it to work beautifully without us. And so we use any resource in Abilene as a resource for our families. So, yeah.
So if somebody's watching this, or they hear about CASA and they just are really moved to get involved, what are the steps, or how can they find you? Or do they go to your social media, or do they go to your website, or do they just, Google CASA?
Well, if you Google CASA, you're definitely going to see us.
It is Big Country
Yes,
CASA.
Big Country CASA is our branch of CASA. And so you would either look us up, kind of check out our website, which is bigcountrycasa.org, or you can check us out on Facebook or Instagram. We are interested in anyone who's willing to put forth enough time to do this. I think we failed to say it's about an 18-month commitment. And so as long as you are willing and able to kind of do that kind of work for about 18 months, please look us up. Please find us. And if you can't volunteer time at this point in your life, you can definitely share our posts. You can like those things. Engagement does matter.
So if somebody became a volunteer in 2000 and they're still a volunteer, they're obviously over the 18-month mark. So you
Right.
can stay in
Yes.
as a volunteer. You're not cycled out after 18 months.
Right.
Correct. So a lot of our advocates, once they're comfortable, at least with their first one, they can take on another case. I've been an advocate volunteer since 2020. And so I've had that same case due to
Wait,
her.
are you the 80-year-old?
How did you know? This new
We
hair
hide
cream.
it really well.
Yeah, boy, oh boy.
Yes, I know. But I've had the same case since 2020 due to her age and her aging out. But I've also been able to take on another case. And so I'm actively working 2 cases, even though one is about to close.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask, is this something that you do one at a time or multiple cases?
It's really up to the advocate, volunteer, the volunteer advocate. If they feel like they're like, hey, this case is kind of coming to a slow point right now. I think I may want another one, or this is heading towards adoption, or this is heading towards reunification. May I go ahead and get another case? And as soon as we get one appointed, which is pretty quickly, that we will need another volunteer for, then yes, they're able to have that caseload. But it is, again, up to the volunteer.
And how many cases that you see in the court system that need a volunteer, and then how many actually get a volunteer?
So we are meeting about half of the need right now in Taylor County. And so unfortunately, that means half of the kiddos that come into care do not have another set of eyes on them. And although that may not seem like a huge deal, any of us can kind of think about a time when we were going through like the loneliest part of our life or the hardest, most trying time of our life. And having that CASA kind of be there and be stable through that is really important. And so, excuse me.
No, it's okay. I'm just wondering, how do you deal with that? You're thinking, oh my gosh, we need more volunteers, because Abilene's a city with more churches than most cities. I don't know that that's true in terms of raw numbers of churches, but certainly per capita. More nonprofits per capita than most cities. It seems like there's a lot of goodwill in our city. But how can an organization like CASA be short of volunteers? It seems like people be lining up. You'd have more people volunteering than you have cases, but it's just not reality.
It's not reality in Taylor County, unfortunately. I do think that we have lots of loving people in our area. I do think that maybe it's a visibility issue. Maybe people don't know about CASA as much as they should.
Yeah, or they may be a little confused because I think I get it. Court Appointed Special Advocate. That's the acronym CASA. Yes. But of course, CASA is Spanish for house.
Right.
People may think, well, this is a Spanish house ministry.
Right.
But it, I don't know, it seems to me, once you hear y'all talk about it, to be pretty simple and straightforward. Not easy.
Right.
The simple stuff is never easy.
Right.
You know, like, hey, behave in class. Pretty simple instructions.
Right.
But a lot of little boys find that to be very difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very difficult. So the simple, straightforward realities of CASA seem like they're achievable. The complexity of the cases has to be part of the challenge. So what can you tell a prospective volunteer in the podcast? You're going to get training. You're going to get support.
Right.
We need you, and you will feel valued, and you will feel a ton of good from your engagement.
Yeah, for our community. I do think that it is a thankless job because you are entering into a situation that's the worst of the worst for this family, right? And so a lot of times we're seen as the system. We're seen as people who are taking away their children. And so I think that shift in mindset of just allowing people to know we're a helper. We're here to give you resources and advocate for your child's best interest, which you would want to do also.
Last February, the circus came to town, and they were out at the mall parking lot, and it was the Do Portugal Circus. And I got to know them because we did some business with them here at the TV station in Big Country, homepage.com. And I was delighted by their story, by the unique lifestyle they live. And I went to a couple of different of their shows, and different shows. And one of those shows, I was just standing there, and there was a family with like 7 kids, and I was fascinated by that. And I got to looking at these kids, and I'm thinking, well, there's no way. It's got to be some friends that they invited over. Well, I don't know that they were CASA volunteers or not, but they said to me, well, some of these kids are kind of caught up in our court system, and this is the first fun thing they've done for a while. And I remember that. It made such an impact on me, thinking that is, just a chance to go to a circus, and the metaphor of, well, they live in a circus is kind of silly and unfortunate all at the same time. But that's what a CASA volunteer has the opportunity to do, is gift a child some normalcy.
Right.
And that child is often right in the middle of a tough situation. There's something very redemptive about that work.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I think more so as a CASA volunteer is you don't really know what the children's needs are until you get to know them.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to advocate for themselves. Yeah. And so getting to know them.
All these kids seem to be advocating very well for popcorn, peanuts, cotton candy at the circus.
Yeah,
They were
yes.
doing a good job of that.
There are certain
Kids are
things
good
that
at
they're very good at advocating for. But as far as, hey, are you taking your medications? Hey, are you going to school? Are you on time? Do you have a headache? Okay, why do you have a headache? Are you wearing glasses? Oh, I need glasses. Well, let's go get you glasses. I mean, there's a lot of just different moving parts that CASA volunteers do. And a lot of that is due to the fact that there's so many people involved in a court case, that you don't realize it until you show up to the court and the hallway is just full of all of these people for this one hearing that may take 30 minutes. And so I would say the CASA is the one that can actually intervene with all parties. There's a good communication with the CASA volunteer and the caseworker with the child. And, you look at the caseworker, they've got how many other cases, and you just have this one family. You have this one case, and you are the eyes and the ears of that whole entire case, and you are advocating for those children, and you are able to take on a role that is so important for all of those parties to do what is best for that family.
So, Candace, as a volunteer, do you do something with your, I guess what's the terminology? Your appointed child?
I call them my CASA kiddos because I truly, for me personally, I love these children. I love getting to know them. I love advocating for them, but I genuinely care for them. So I get to do a lot with them.
Do you do something with them every week?
So typically, if they are, this is another part of CASA that can be a little a gray area. If they're placed here in Abilene, I would. When my child was placed here in Abilene, I was able to see her on a much more regular basis. She was placed in Houston. And so for a CASA volunteer, that changes the requirements of how often you have to see your child in person. And so that turned into more of a quarterly thing. However, due to technology with Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, FaceTime, cell phones, it's still pretty, even now, even though she's aged out, there is day-to-day conversations with her.
Yeah.
That's not every case. Some cases, the kids don't want anything to do with their CASA.
Yes.
You're really just working a case, and you're making sure that you're making recommendations that would be for the best interest of that kiddo. But some of them do end up being a little bit closer.
Absolutely.
How many volunteers do you need? And what's your goal in 2026?
Well, as many as we can get, but our yearly goal is always about 40. I think if we had a solid 40, then we would be seeing a bunch of kids have some CASAs.
So on average, you need 3 or 4 a month to go through your training process, and it's a 32-hour training process.
We have it 4 different times a year, and sometimes we'll have a summer class that's during the day, but most of them are in the evenings.
So every quarter, you train a batch of volunteers.
Yes.
And so then they're kind of spilled out into the system, and they go out and help as many as you can.
Right.
Okay.
And it's typically pretty quick after you get sworn in that we already will have a case waiting for us. The day I got sworn in.
Sworn in.
Mm-hmm. So after you complete your training with your
32 hours.
They vary sometimes. But after you finish all of your trainings and you get sworn in front of Judge Rotenberry or Judge Probst, or both, depending on who is there. And once you have your certification that they've signed and you've had your swear-in date, then you're able to receive your first case.
I went to high school with Judge Rotenberry. I don't think he would swear me in. I think he might swear at me. He might. Yeah, our judges are great people.
They really are.
I think we probably ought to say a word about that.
Absolutely. There, you can tell. I've only been in the family courtroom setting. I haven't experienced any criminal courtroom setting at this time. And so I genuinely feel like that they know these children, they know these families, and they want the best outcome for these children. And what a job they have, hearing these cases all day, every day. And so, yes, they are advocating for the families as much as they can while upholding their. And
at the end of the day, CASAs make recommendations, but the judges are the ones that decide whether or not it's something that can happen. And so it's kind of relieving a little bit because we get to make all the recommendations in the world, but they have to kind of follow the law and make sure that we're making sure everybody has their rights intact and things like that. So our judges are pretty stellar. They're pretty great.
Well, it's really been an enlightening conversation, and there's so much that is behind the scenes. You know, I'd like to invite y'all or somebody else from CASA back in the coming weeks to talk about some other stuff that's going on.
For sure.
That you guys need, and the community has an opportunity here because, you know, the old Dutch parable of the little boy that stuck his finger in the wall of the dam and prevented the dam from breaking and saved a village.
Right.
It seems like to me that's an apt metaphor, fables, an allegory, but an example of what you guys are doing in your work at CASA.
Sure.
An opportunity to save a family, a child, a community.
Right.
Is it's I guess I'm full of examples, but the butterfly effect, you know, around the world, a butterfly flaps its wings or something, and then something happens over here.
Right.
Well, this is pretty obvious.
Right.
The causal relationship between somebody who cares, helps through a difficult process, makes recommendations, represents, is an advocate for the child. Mm-hmm. The judge hears all of that, makes a decision. It's more than transactional, you know. It's relational.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As we close out, is there anything you would like to say that might motivate somebody to volunteer? Like, will a volunteer in 2026 win a new minivan or anything like that?
No new minivans, but my respect, they will win that.
Oh,
so
that's more valuable.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, we just want willing people who are interested in helping our community become a safer, healthier place. Because at the end of the day, we all have a stake in whether or not our community is healthy.
Yeah, well said.
And also that's great, Dana, to kind of piggyback is if you are interested, but you want more details, because we all can see a commercial, we all can hear the spill, everything. But if you would like to meet up with her at a info meet, if they'll follow our Facebook page, Big Country CASA, she does them very frequently, weekly, at a local coffee place, tea to go, things like that. And she has the ample amount of time to really sit down and go over that. And I would say on the volunteer side of that is if you're in fear of that long-term commitment, if you're in fear of, I don't really know how I would do in the court system, I just get too nervous, or I don't think I would be a good fit. My heart's there, but I don't think I can do it. You can. And you have a huge support system. You have you'll be assigned to a supervisor that will walk you through every single step of that case. You have a team of CASA's supervisor, staff, admin, everybody that is involved with Big Country CASA. They are going to help you and do anything they can to take the load off of you if it's too heavy, to help walk you through there if you're not sure and give you direction and see a beautiful outcome for these kiddos.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful thing. Candace, so good to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you so much. Dana, always appreciate you and appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
And I think I just said appreciate 3 times, but it's really not enough. You know? We do owe you a debt of gratitude for all the work that you do. And I think that I see one of the taglines sometimes on the PSAs or something, you know, not all superheroes wear capes.
Right.
I think you guys are superheroes.
Well,
And
we do have a 5K superhero fun run that we do once a year that we do get to wear a cape too. So I always say not all heroes wear capes, but we do at the 5K.
Yeah,
so come join us and bring a cape.
So there we have it, folks. Another interesting conversation on Abilene People. And you've been challenged today to think about volunteering and then get beyond the thought and go to one of these info meetings. Follow them on Facebook, Big Country CASA. Google them, give them a call, email, say, hey, I'd really like some information. I'd like to help. I'd like to volunteer. Then go through the training, get involved. And who knows but what you may be saving the direction and future of a child that's not too different than the 3 people sitting at this table. We just sometimes need somebody to take an interest and put their arm around us. That could be you. I want to give a shout out to our producer, Travis Corrigan, who just returned from an overseas trip to Japan. And hopefully he's over there not asleep at the wheel and doing all of his button pushing. But we do appreciate Travis and all the work that he does. We call him TCB for taking care of business, Travis Corrigan. And we appreciate you being with us here on Abilene People. Join us next time. I guarantee you it'll be somebody interesting. In fact, I know who it is, but I'm not going to say just now because I want you to make sure you're checking the social here at bigcountryhomepage.com, KTAB, KRBC, Abilene Telemundo. And join us for that next guest. Thank you again, ladies, for being our guest today.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time. I'm your host, Danny Sims.